St. Lucy's Home for Girls Raised by Wolves by Karen Russell. Stage 2. Stage 2. After a time, your students realize that they must work to adjust to the new culture. This work may be stressful, and students may experience a strong sense of dislocation. They may miss certain foods. They may spend a lot of time daydreaming during this period. Many students feel isolated, irritated, bewildered, depressed, or generally uncomfortable. Those were the days when we dreamed of rivers and meat. The full moon nights were the worst. Worse than the cold toilet seats and boiled tomatoes. Worse than trying to will our tongues to curl around our false new names. We would snarl at one another for no reason. I remember how disorientating it was to look down and see two square-toed shoes instead of my own 4 feet. Keep your mouth shut, I repeated during our walking drills, staring straight ahead. Keep your shoes on your feet. Mouth shut, shoes on feet. Do not chew on your new penny loafers. Do not. I stumbled around in a daze, my mouth black with shoe polish. The whole pack was irritated, bewildered, depressed. We were all uncomfortable and between languages. We had never wanted to run away so badly in our lives. But who did we have to run back to? Only the curled black grimace of our mother. Only the father, holding his tawny head between his paws. Could we betray our parents by going back to them? After they'd given us the choicest part of the woodchuck, loved us as our hairless worst, nosed us across the ice floes and abandoned us at St. Lucy's for our betterment? Physically, we were all easily capable of clearing the low stone walls. Sister Josephine left the wooden gates wide open. They unslatted the windows at night, so the long fingers in moonlight beckoned us from the woods. But we knew we couldn't return to the woods. Not till we were civilized. Not if we didn't want to have to break the mother's heart. It all felt like a sly, human taunt. It was impossible to make the blank, chilly bedroom feel like home. In the beginning, we drank gallons of bathwater as part of a collaborative effort to mark our territory. We puddled up the yellow carpet of old newspapers, but later, when we returned to the bedroom, we were dismayed to find all trace of the pack must had vanished. Someone was coming in and erasing us. We sprayed and sprayed every morning, and every night we returned to the same ammonia eradication. We couldn't make our scent stick here. It had made us feel invisible. Eventually, we gave up. Still, the pack seemed to be adjusting on the same timetable. The advanced girls could already alternate between two speeds, slouch and amble. Almost everybody was fully bipedal. Almost. The pack was worried about Mirabella. Mirabella would rip foamy chunks out of the church pews and replace them with ham bones and girl dander. She loved to roam the grounds wagging her invisible tail. We all had a hard time giving that up. When we got excited, we would fall to the ground and start pumping our backsides. Back in those days, we could pump at rabbity velocities. Gee, horror! Sister Maria frowned, looking more than a little jealous. We'd give her scolding pinches. Mirabella, we hissed, imitating the nuns. No. Mirabella cocked her ears at us, hurt and confused. Still, some things remain the same. The main commandment of wolf life is know your place, and that translated perfectly. Being around other humans had awakened a slavish dog affection in us, an abasing, belly to the ground desire to please. As soon as we realized that someone higher up in the food chain was watching us, we wanted only to be pleasing in their sight. Mouth shut, I repeated, shoes on feet. But if Mirabella had this latent instinct, the nuns couldn't figure out how to activate it. She'd go bounding around, gleefully spraying on their gilded statue of St. Lucy, mad scratching at the virulent fleas that survived all of their powders and baths. At Sister Maria's tearful insistence, she'd stand upright for roll call, her knobby, oddly muscled legs quivering from the effort. Then she'd collapse right back to the ground with an ecstatic oomph. She was still loping around on all fours, which the nuns had taught us to see looking unnatural and ridiculous. We could barely believe it now, the shame of it, that we used to locomote that like that. Her fist blew white from the strain, as if she were holding a secret tight to the ground. Sister Maria de la Guardia would sigh every time she saw her. Caramba! She'd sit down with Mirabella and pry her fingers apart. You see, she'd say softly again and again, what are you holding on to? Nothing, little one, nothing. Then she would sing out the standard chorus. Why can't you be more like your sister Jeanette? The pack hated Jeanette. She was the most successful of us, the one furthest removed from her origins. Her real name was Gra, but she wouldn't respond to this anymore. Jeanette spiffed her penny loafers until her very shoes seemed to gloat. Linguistics have since traced the colloquial origins of goody two shoes back to our facilities. She could even growl out a demonic sounding precursor to pleased to meet you. She'd delicately extend her former paws to visitors, wearing white kid gloves. Our little wolf, disguised in sheep's clothing, Sister Ignatius liked to joke with the visiting deacons, and Jeanette would surprise everyone by laughing along with them, a harsh, inhuman, barking sound. Her hearing was still twig snap sharp. Jeanette was the first among us to apologize, to drink apple juice out of a sippy cup, to quit eyeballing the cleric's jugular in a disconcerting fashion. She curled her lips back into a cousin of a smile as the traveling barber cut her pelt into bangs. Then she swept her coarse black curls under the rug. When we entered a room, our nostrils flared beneath the new odors onions and bleach, candle, wax, the turnipy smell of unwashed bodies. Not Jeanette. Jeanette smiled and pretended like she couldn't smell a thing. I was one of the good girls. Not great and not terrible. Solidly middle of the pack. But I had an ear for language and I could read before I could adequately wash myself. I probably could have vied with Jeanette for the number one spot, but I'd seen what happened if you gave in to your natural aptitudes. This wasn't like the woods, where you had to be your fastest and your strongest and your bravest self. Different sorts of calculations were required to survive at the home. The pack hated Jeanette, but we hated Mirabella more. We began to avoid her, but sometimes she'd surprise us, curled up beneath the beds or gnawing on a scapula in the garden. It was scary to be ambushed by her sister. I'd bristle and growl the way that I'd begun to snarl at my own reflection, as if it were a stranger. Whatever will become of Mirabella? We asked, gulping back our own fear. We'd heard rumors about former wolf girls who never adapted to their new culture. It was assumed they would return to our native country, the vanishing woods. We liked to speculate about this before bedtime, scaring ourselves with stories of catastrophic bliss. It was the disgrace, the failure that we all guiltily hoped for in our hard beds, twitching with the shadow question, whatever will become of me? We spent a lot of time daydreaming during this period, even Jeanette. Sometimes I'd like to see her looking out the woods in a vacant way. If you interrupted her in the midst of one of these revelries, she would lunge at you with an elder sister ferocity, momentarily forgetting her human catechism. We liked her better then, startled back into being foamy old Jeanette. In school, they showed us the St. Francis of Assisi slideshow again and again. Then the nuns would give us bags of bread. They never announced these things as a test. It was only much later that I realized that we were under constant examination. Go feed the ducks, they urged us. Go practice compassion for all God's creatures. Don't pair me with Mirabella, I prayed, and anybody but Mirabella. Claudette, Sister Josephine beamed. Why don't you and Mirabella take some pumpernickel down to the ducks? Okay, thank you, I said. It took me a long time to say anything first. I had to translate in my head from the wolf. It wasn't fair. They knew Mirabella couldn't make bread balls yet. She couldn't even undo the twist tie of the bag. She was sure to eat the birds. Mirabella didn't even try to curb her desire to kill things. And then who would get blamed for the dark spots of duck blood on our Peter Pan collars? Who would get penalized with negative skill points? Exactly. As soon as we were beyond the wooden gates, I snatched the bread away from Mirabella and ran off to the duck pond on my own. Mirabella gave chase, nipping at my heels. She thought it was a game. Stop it, I growled. I ran faster, but it was stage 2, and I was still unsteady on my 2 feet. I fell sideways into a leaf pile, and then all I could see was my sister's blurry form, bounding towards me. In a moment, she was on top of me, barking the old word for tug-of-war. When she tried to steal the bread out of my hands, I whirled around and snarled at her, pushing my ears back from my head. I bit her shoulder, once, twice, the only language she would respond to. I used my new motor skills. I threw dirt. I threw stones. Get away, I screamed. long after she'd made a cringing retreat into the shadows of the purple saplings. Get away! Get away! Much later, they found Mirabella wading in the shallows of a distant river, trying to strangle a mallard with her rosary beads. I was at the lake. I'd been sitting there for hours, hunched in the long cattails, my yellow eyes flashing, shoving ragged hunks of bread into my mouth. I don't know why they did to Mirabella. Me, they separated from my sisters. They made me watch another slideshow. This one showed images of former wolf girls, the ones who'd failed to be rehabilitated. Long-haired, sad-eyed women limping after their former wolf packs in their white tennis shoes and pleated culottes. A wolf girl, begged teller, her makeup smeared in oily rainbows, eating a raw steak on the deposit slips, while her colleagues looked on in disgust. Our parents. The final slide was a bolded sentence in St. Lucy's prim script. Do you want to end up shunned by both species? After that, I spent less time with Mirabella. One night she came to me, holding her hand out. She was covered with splinters, keening a high, whining noise through her nostrils. Of course I understood what she wanted. I wasn't that far removed from her language, even though I was reading at a fifth grade level, halfway to Jack London's The Son of a Wolf. Lick your own wounds, I said, not unkindly. It was what the nuns had instructed us to say. Wound licking was not something you did in polite company. Etiquette was so confounding in this country. Still, looking at Mirabella, her fists balled together like small, white porcupines, her brows knit in animal confusion, I felt a throb of compassion. How can people live like they do? I wondered. Then I congratulated myself. This was a stage 3 thought.